Hey folks, it's Ben. Welcome to the Red Barn Homestead channel. We're doing something super farmy today. We're building a seed starting table. And what that consists of, if you look down here, is we've got, it's 3/4 inch plywood. It's approximately 2 feet wide by 8 feet long. I've got some 2x4s behind it to support it. And then I've got some pre-cut 2x4s that we're going to use for legs. And what we're going to do, and we've got some eave warming cable here. We've got some bags of sand, and I've also got some smaller pieces of wood to kind of build a lip and some plastic to protect it all. Follow me here. If you clicked on the link, you probably saw the final product on our little card there, but we're going to build essentially a seed starting table. So let's begin that process by attaching these 8-foot 2x4s to our table. Okay, so first step is we're going to take this 8-foot 2x4 and we're shooting this in our storage room of our house, basically because it's freezing cold outside. Like, it's actually not that bad. It's -4 degrees Fahrenheit, but it's got a wind chill of -20, and my shop is really cold, so I'm just going to try to do this one-handed here. We'll be using Robinson screws. They're approximately 1 3/4 inch long, and we're just going to start it here at the end of the table. And I'll sink one on one end, and then I'm going to go down the end just to secure this 2x4 to the plywood. And
all Canadians will know he meant Robertson screwdriver.
Didn't I say Robertson?
No.
What did I say?
You said Robinson.
Whatever. Pull that up flush.
Yep.
Thanks. I might have to swap batteries here.
She sounds a little unhappy.
A little tired. Okay, so we got one side done, and now we'll do the next side. Then we'll be able to flip it on essentially its top, and we'll figure out how to attach the legs. I haven't figured that out yet, but it's not hard. Okay, so that's done. So now we've got this really rigid piece of 2-foot wide plywood that's 8 feet long, so that's a good table for us. I have to build it so robust because we're going to be putting sand on it, so it's got a little bit of weight plus whatever plants will end up sticking to it. So next up is the legs. These were cut to, how long we cut them?
38 inches.
38 inches, because I asked my wife, well, how high do you want to work with this? And she said about this high, and that happens to be about 40 inches high, but we have a little bit of table, a little bit of sand, so we cut them about 38. So now we're going to do a basic, attach them to the sides of the 2x4s, and then a cross buck down here to keep the legs stable. Then we'll flip the table back on top. Is it?
Yeah, this is.
Cool. Cute fingers. Cool.
That's great.
Let's do it again. So the table's now assembled. It's a very basic table. Can't stand a lot of dynamic loads, but it's just holding up seeds, so it pretty much just has to hold itself up. Now we're going to be putting sand on the top here. And in order to prevent that from getting everywhere, we're going to put a lip on it. Now this is pressure treated. It's actually fence board. So it was originally 5.5 by 6 feet long, but we were cutting them into pickets. And these are ones that didn't make the cut. Something's wrong with them. So we didn't actually cut them into pickets, but they're perfect for this. Our top happens to be pressure treated. This is also pressure treated, but of course if you're doing this at home, it doesn't need to be pressure treated because we'll be putting plastic over everything to keep it strong. So what I'm going to do now is just essentially screw these into the edge here, and I think when I was doing my math I might have done it wrong, but anyway, we're going to screw these onto the edge here, and that'll create a little cup for our sand to be in. So I'm going to use those 1 3/4 inch screws and go around the outside of this, building a lip. The plywood's happy with it. Actually, I probably need 2 stress level area here. It's not structural, it's decor.
Oh, it's there to hold the sand.
So the sides are on now. They're kind of nice and sturdy. So now we've got essentially a sand play area to do in. But in order to keep sand from getting all over my floor, we've got this plastic material. We've been in sections of the house, we've been putting a moisture barrier up and things like that. Kind of nice to have. I forget how thick it is, but it's pretty thick. And it's also folded over 4 times. So what I'm going to do is just roll it down over my table. The little overlap on each end. We're going to cut it, fold it open. I'm going to just use one thickness, and I'll have a project somewhere down the road that'll use the rest of it. But for this one, I only need it thick, and it's mostly only just to keep sand off my floor. A little bit of extra. Very dull knife. Go down the edge of the wood here. Cool. So we'll fold this out and we'll cut it down to 1 sheet and we'll put that on the table. And just using the 2x4 here as my straight surface to cut. Voila. So now we've got our plastic, and we'll probably staple it on the outside so it doesn't go anywhere, and then we'll do sand. No, we won't. We'll do wire. Right, wire first. Okay. So now I'm going to attach it to the edge of the table here with just some staples. Once it's full of sand, there's not going to be any stress on this thing. But while I'm setting things up, I don't want it to move. So this is the adventurous part of our table, because we were trying to come up with some sort of device that would heat our sand, just warm enough to be warm, but not like cook our plants, but to be awesome. So originally I was thinking heat tape, but for pipes to keep them from freezing, but that's all they do is they keep them from freezing. They don't really heat them. So digging into a little bit closer, a roof and gutter de-icing kit seemed more appropriate, which it actually gets a little bit warmer than heat tape does. So we bought ourselves 30 feet, which we figured would do the top of the table here. So we're going to actually deploy it onto the table and then cover it with the sand to kind of be an equalizing medium. And we'll see how it goes, if it gets warm enough or not. We don't know, probably does, but it's our one question on this project here. So our next step is to take this cable, and like I said, it's 30 feet. And I think it doesn't have a lot of brains to it, so you either turn it on or you don't. So some of the heat tape has self-regulating control, but this thing here, and I think this is the business end of the show, just gets warm. So we want to do that to help with plant germination. They're more concerned with the warmth of the plant versus sunlight and things like that. So the kit comes with clips. So we're going to use these clips to attach the cable, because it's built to not hurt the cable, and attach the clip to the base of will penetrate our plastic, but big deal. So we're going to spread it back and forth all the way to the end, and then we're going to do that, and since I'm not using a tripod, just have to watch when we're done. Right? So we'll uncurl this. Hopefully 30 feet's not too crazy. It'll be pretty warm, hopefully, and we'll see in a little bit. And here I was all excited, just kind of slam the cable across the table, but the reality is you actually have to do some math and figure out, oh, well, how far do I have to put my brackets so that my cable can go back and forth? So it's a 30-foot cable, and it's a 2-foot wide table, which means we're looking at about 2 feet per crossing. So to do the math out, that's 15 crossings. Do the math for dimensionally wise, it's about a foot on each side. So we did the marks, so each connection is approximately a foot apart, and they're offset. So we get this back and forth looping that we have here, and let me show you how we have modified the roof brackets so that they'll fit the cable and the table just right. So what we're doing here is this is how we modify the brackets. They're meant to clip onto a shingle and hold the wire, but in this case we're just modifying it so we can use it to staple it to the wood. So we're just bending the metal flat back. We could have cut it off, but that would require me going outside, and I'm lazier than that. So and it's cold. So we'll bend it back, flush like that, so we can then drive a staple through the little bit here and hold it steady for ourselves. All right, and so here we go. So we've got the cables down like they're supposed to be, and they're kind of flexed in, and I stapled them to the top of the table here. So I think the next part we're going to do is sand deployment, right? So we're going to take a bag, well, might as well do it live. Oh, geez. Take a bag of sand. Do we want to start, which end do we want to start on? Let's do this end because it's near the electric. Oof. So here we have Gytech Industries Incorporated out of Red Deer County, Alberta. And they provide traction sand. It's what, a 50-pound bag or something like that. But anyway,
it's
0.5 cubic feet. We're in Canada. I thought everything was metric. Oh well. I'm going to cut it down the side and we can spread it around. Think that's all right?
Yep.
Stab, slice it like that. This is technically...
It's sterilized sand.
It's sterilized, not by choice, just by... Hey, look what I did. Technically, it's sterilized play sand and or garden sand. So,
I bet we're going to need 2 more bags.
we're probably going to need more bags. But we bought 2 just to see in case we bought enough. But we might need 2 more bags of this stuff. Put this one aside. Because the cords are not that thick, right?
Back in here, so...
Not showing up very well?
Having trouble focusing.
Oh. Well, come over here where it's nice and light. Look at me. I get to play bulldoze driver. We might have to come back and poke the wires down too. They're lifting up a little bit on me. But we might get away with 2 bags here. We're halfway down the table. So let's split the other one out and do some spreading. So we're gonna cut, yeah, we're a little short. We want these to be buried, not kind of skimming the surface. So, but what, yeah, but what we can do is keep going with the electrical part of it. We got to do light still, and see if it gets warm enough for to a temperature that we think will be good enough for starting plants on. So, kidding. Okay, so we have these 4-foot fluorescent lights. Are they 4 or 3?
I think they're only 3. No,
Well,
they must be 4. They're pretty long.
Yep, they're about 4. So, okay, we got these 4-foot fluorescent lights, back to the story, that we're going to suspend from the ceiling, because when you're starting plants, the height of the light is important. So, what we're going to use is baler twine on the rafters up here somehow, and suspend these lights in a manner so that they're probably relatively low like this.
2 inches over the plants.
Okay. So they're going to be low like that. We have a Christmas light timer. So we can regulate the time, and it happens to have 2 outlets out for each one of our lights. So we'll be able to plug each one into this into this, and I have an extension cord we'll be using for the heat tape and the lamps that has 3 plugs in it. And the current draw between them all will be approximately 1.5 amps, which is plenty. So that's what we're going to do next. Okay. Alrighty, so I got my extension cord plugged in. As I mentioned, it was a 3-pronger, and I've already lost it. Yeah, here's my Christmas tree timer. Which we'll plug in here. Click. And it's not on, so there's a switch here to turn it on. So now it's on, which means I gotta, these have center poles on them. Buzz, buzz. So there, now we've got lights going on. That's humming. One thing we need to do is, if you notice the lights are hung by baler twine, is we're probably going to switch that over to chain. I have some, I think, in the Quonset, or I can go buy some, but that's going to enable us to, tying this just right is a pain, so we're going to have the chain so we can just link up or down. And some of our cable came with these hooks, so we'll just switch them over here as well, so we can hook them up or hook them down as we need to go. The only thing else I've got to plug in is the plug for the, it's actually quite long, so we'll be super duper. We'll plug in the heater tape right now. This is the fundamentals of the table. Everything else here is what you see. So thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel, Red Barn Homestead. And if you have any tips, pointers, or questions, feel free to go ahead and ask us in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. And there'll be more videos on this, so you don't have to ask for them, but please do if you want them. But we'll kind of go on the following adventures. Our main goal here is we want to start strawberry plants. So we've had them in the freezer for about a month now. we're going to take them out and then kind of get them started. And they're kind of a hard one to start off, we've been told. So we're going to try that first, and then as the season goes on, we'll do the different plants. So, alrighty guys, you guys have a good day.